to the Bremerton Chamber of Commerce Regs and Issues first session. And I want to welcome you all this morning. I'm Joe Rozak. I will be your moderator. I'm also a board member of the Chamber of Commerce. And on behalf of your chamber, we want to welcome you to another exciting and rousing issue of Eggs and Issues. With that, first and foremost, a couple things to take care of. First of all, if you have a question, there's cards like this available. You just write down your question and either hand it to Frank and we'll gladly take hold of your cards and we will put them into the mix and try to get to the press. Another thing for you, okay, so this might be a little bit longer than I anticipated. So when we started, my first question this morning was, how many miles is it to the moon? But I thought we might get some better questions, and we are moving right along. But it's also for the sake of housekeeping, your exits, in case of an emergency, are either through that door or straight through those doors. We'll take you out. The restrooms are located over in that direction, through that hallway. And I asked you during the course of our conversation today that should you happen to have one of these rectangle things in your box or your purse or your pocket, that you take it and you turn it to, I got mine on silent. You put yours on buzz if you want. But if during the course of this conversation, folks, your phone happens to go off and make some noise, I'm going to ask that you make a $10 donation to a local nonprofit in Kitsap County. And today's nonprofit is going to be
United Way of Kitsap County.
United Way of Kitsap County, honoring David Hood, who's just retiring from 11 years there. So if your phone goes off, it's an honorary program, folks. I won't track it down, but we'd like to donate on behalf of that. So with that, you can turn your phone off or turn it on if you want to make some donations. So with that, the format is pretty clear and crisp. We actually have the candidates begin. They have 3 minutes to address you and just tell you who they are, what their platform is, or whatever they want to share with you, their favorite apple cake recipe or whatever that may be. The other thing is then we go into the questions that you all have provided to me, and I will sort through so we reduce duplicates. And then with that, they get 1 minute to answer the questions. Following that, the candidates will have 2 minutes to do a closing summary for the day. Are you all ready?
Yes.
Oh boy, are you ready?
Yes.
All right, let's go. So please, starting off with our candidates today, they're all arranged in alphabetical order. So with that, we begin with Sherry Appleton, please.
Well, thank you all for coming in the morning. This is sort of early for me, but I thank you for coming. My name is Sherry Appleton. I am your House of Representatives, one of your House of Representatives delegates here in Kitsap County in the 23rd Legislative District, which is all encapsulated in Kitsap County, except for the west side. This has been a pretty good year for me. I was made chairman of local government, and that was really a very big honor. And I also sit on public safety and on community development, housing, and tribal affairs. I also, I guess I should tell you that I also sit on committees outside of the legislature. They're ad hoc committees as opposed to standing committees. So I sit on the State Council on Aging, on the Commission on Judicial Conduct, the Sentencing Guidelines Commission, the Office of Public Defense, the Joint Committee on Veterans and Military Affairs, and also the Military Compact for Children. 50 states belong to that, and they try to figure out when children are transferred with their parents what they need in the new state that they haven't had in the old state. And it is a big problem. Senator Rolfes sits on that with me. And we've been doing that for a lot of years. Anyway, I will tell you that in 2011, I was picked as Outstanding Legislator of the Year by the Department of Veterans Affairs. I also got a national award for adult daycare from the John Hines Memorial Foundation. And so I was considered the top legislator in the nation for adult daycare. And I also won it in the state. I also have been, Washington Conservation voters have indoctrinated me into the 100% Club. And AWC, the Association of Washington Cities, has now named me as one of their legislative champions of the year. Why am I running again? Because I have the experience, 12 years, and I know how to get things done. Commitment, I'm always committed to the citizens of Kitsap County in the 23rd District. And the last is balance. I know how to work across the aisle. I've done that many times and will continue to do so. And that's why I'm running, because this is going to be a very difficult year with McCleary and now in contempt for mental health. So I ask for your vote, and that's it.
Thank you. All right, thank you. I remind our candidates, I forgot to mention this earlier, we actually have our sergeant at arms here. The yellow means that you actually have 30 seconds.
10 seconds.
10
10 seconds.
10 seconds. Whoa, okay. So we're in, sorry about that.
30 would be better.
Okay, for this 3 minutes, I'll give you 30. How's that?
All right, so for 3 minutes for 30, but 10 seconds for the 1 minute answers. Okay. You got it. So please go.
Okay.
Thank you, Loretta. Please.
Sure. Good morning, my name is Loretta Burns, and I am running for state representative of the 23rd Legislative District. I want to thank you all for, thanks to the Bremerton Chamber for organizing this event, and everybody coming out this morning. I moved to Kitsap County in 2009 when I married my husband, an engineer at the Naval Shipyard. And between us, we have 8 adult children and 4 children-in-laws and 2 beautiful baby grandsons. Before settling down in Kitsap County, I spent 17 years in Bangladesh, Rwanda, and Sierra Leone designing and managing economic development programs to increase agricultural productivity and small business incomes. So one part of my job was to actually bring the public and the private sector together to analyze, and we would do surveys and research to find out about everybody's disincentives and incentives in particular sectors, and then bring people together to analyze those issues and come up with solutions. So this involved in understanding the financial incentives and disincentives for all stakeholders as related to government policies and other issues. So after moving to Kitsap County, I worked for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for 4 years as a program officer in a similar role, designing multi-million-dollar programs. And after I left them, I became an independent consultant. While living overseas, I owned a home in Olympia, and my son Gabriel and I would come home every summer to really enjoy the Northwest. Sometimes we don't have the beauty that we have here in the countries that we really need. And when I moved to Kitsap County, I was appointed to the Surface and Stormwater Advisory Board, which really was a great opportunity to learn about how things work in local government. I used my professional experience to help the various program partners within that program to design, or to better articulate goals and to develop more measurable and specific outcomes. I'm very aware of the critical role the Kitsap Peninsula plays in protecting the Puget Sound and our salmon population. As a natural resource economist and as an economic development professional, I will work hard to maintain that balance between economic development and resource management. And I've also worked as a labor economist and a WorkSource area director of King County. My name is Loretta Burns, and I would be honored to serve the people of Kitsap County and Washington State. Thank you.
Thank you. So moving on to our next candidate, we may, Jack, please.
Good morning, I'm Jack Carroll. Glad that everyone's came out this morning. Happy to be in front of you guys today. The reason why I basically came onto this forum and basically the platform was I've been a resident of Kitsap County since 1987. Came up here in the Navy, had a great time able to stay here the entire time for 22 years. Up here in Kitsap County at the two bases. I've worked at both the shipyards and the naval bases. So we've had some great times living, learning, and growing up. As far as the business aspect, as far as the military campaigns, and we've seen the changes to the growth of Kitsap County during that period of time. After I got out in 2009, I retired as a senior chief and joined a Navy agency in Washington, D.C. Still maintained my house out here. I knew that I was going to retire here. I knew that this is the place that I wanted to be. It's a great place to live. And I lived on the East Coast. I was born on Long Island, New York. And lived up and down the East Coast seaboard. I'm a graduate of South Carolina University. I got a degree in mathematics. And that really defines where I always used my experience. Statistician, logistician, and mentor. If I didn't join the Navy and had so much fun in the Navy, I would have definitely been a teacher because I enjoyed watching the 18-year-old kids come in from Kansas, from Tennessee, from Florida, and watching them grow up to adulthood and seeing that light bulb come on when they finally realize what the importance of life really is. And I can continue to do that down in Olympia. Senators and representatives are no different. We're a lot older, except for me. But we're basically the same thing. We basically want to understand the concept, we want to understand the issues, work through the problem, do the problem solving, and get to the solution, the policy and the procedures necessary. I've got that experience in many active issues that I've seen in the past. When I was in the Navy, when I was in the Washington Navy Yard after my Navy experience, I still worked for the Department of the Navy. I worked with the contracting budgetary agencies for very large contracts. I was leading contract law. Contract law is what the whole country is based on, and it's really important. And I want to bring that experience that I've had into the Washington State and Olympia. So please, once again, thank you for coming today. And those are my issues and statements. So happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jeff. All right, April, please, your 3 minutes.
Well, I have to start off by saying, yes, unlike Jack, Loretta, and Sherry, I do not have the age and years of experience on me. But I come to at this with a different aim. I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I'm a former business owner. I'm a full mom of 4 children, and one of my children is severely disabled. He has autism. My background is in early childhood education, and in the past I have done projects such as work in orphanages in Haiti. I'm currently interested in doing things like, I like volunteer work. I like to build parks. I'm currently working on chairing a committee to build a special needs park, something that I believe that we need to start going more towards in this day and age. We talk about diversity, but yet we still don't build parks for all children. And I'm involved in those kind of projects. But what brought me to wanting to run for office is I opened child centers. I was a successful young woman in my 20s, using my education, and I had a dream and a vision. I got shut down. And one of the things that shut me down was the state wanted me to let go of a woman that had special needs. And I believed at that moment that integrity was more valuable than my business. I refused to let the woman go. Because one of the reasons I was in the early grade was about helping young people reach competence, so they can be competent members of society. We talk about all the spending and having money for all these different programs that we put stuff towards. But if we really want to have the money that we need, and we really want to take care of people, we're going to start with our young. And we're going to build a society that allows people, anyone from any walk of life, electrical inspectors talking about how we need to, there are quotas of 60 citations a month each. But when something is about a quota, it's not about health and safety. And regulations should be made for the purpose of profiting off of business owners and the people. So I would like to go to Olympia with an actual voice coming from an everyday person and put an everyday perspective on the passage of legislation. I hope they can consider it over.
Thank you, April. All right, so now we're going to move into our 1 minute response to the questions that you all provided to me. And I have some really nice softballs for getting folks warmed up, but we're not going to do that because you guys have kind of overwhelmed me with all kinds of really good questions. So with that being said, you guys are going to have to just come right out of the seat screaming here. So with that, we had Sherry started, so we'll move next to Loretta, who will begin with questions. Questions will be 1 minute of response. The yellow will go up at 10 seconds to go, and then that time will be up, at which point ask you to, if you continue, please go ahead, and then we'll get on to the next question. This question is, education is a priority for the state legislature. Let me remind you, I can re-ask the questions for each candidate if requested, all right? So, education is a priority for the state legislature, but the age wave has come to Washington State. How will you balance the needs of our children with those of our oldest, most vulnerable citizens who help build our great state? Loretta, 1 minute, please.
That's an excellent question, and in a general way, I'm running as a fiscal conservative, and we do have a lot of needs, and I've worked for the government, and I know that it needs to be more efficient. The only way we're going to meet the needs for education and as people are growing older is if we get more efficient, and there's a lot of room for doing that. Okay, so I'm particularly concerned about the issue of education. So I've spent the last 2 years going to 90% of our school board meetings and looking at all the data, all of the policies, and all of the legislation. And we keep expanding the definition of basic education, but even more so, you have no idea the kind of things that are built into that. We are micromanaging our teachers and coming up with these special things that actually cost time and money, and we really need to work on that.
Okay, thank you. And then now we want to Jack, please. Would you like me to repeat your question? Very good.
The education funding, even the Cleary case, the Supreme Court justices basically came out that the money is not going to fix the education problem. The education problem is basically retaining, it's a very complex situation, and Senator Wolf is doing a great job during the summer session in fixing these issues. But the issues are the retention of the teachers, retention of the quality teachers, retention of the kids in the classroom. So even the justices have stated, you can throw more money at this, but that's not what's going to fix the problem. So education is a priority, but the age way, I mean, I've got many questions from a lot of people saying, if we fund the education system through, if I fund the education system, if I fund the education system through the property taxes, is that better? If we continue to do it through the property taxes, the older people are basically the ones going to be paying for the education for the younger generations, actually 2 generations back. So we really don't need to see the money increase. We need to see the talent of the teachers and the kids in the class. Thank you.
April.
Okay, my 2 cents on that is I went to child care center, and so I got to taste a little bit about how the appropriate where the money was education. And in my child care center, I noticed that it didn't matter if a teacher put $100 into a lesson or a teacher put $10 into a lesson or what the curriculum was. It really had to do, in the end, with the ability of the teacher training. I've seen teachers be able to do more with less than teachers who have had a lot. And I believe that we need to we need to put the money in the right places, direct it in the right places, and concentrate more on basic education rather than a lot of other.
Thank you. Well, education is the paramount duty of the legislature. That's in the Constitution. And a lot of people misunderstand about McCleary. McCleary was not about money. McCleary was about the legislature writing a plan on how they were going to raise the money. And the Senator Office has been on a committee that has been working on giving the Supreme Court the ability to see that we are planning. And we have put in $3.5 billion in the last 3 years into education. As far as the silver tsunami goes, baby boomers are all reaching 65, and we do not have enough places for assisted living, nursing homes, and the like. So we're going to have to change the way we live in society.
All right, thank you. That's all right, you're fine. So now we get, Jack, you get to start off with the next question. So we address the issue of the age wave and also dealing with some of the educational issues, which we'll probably delve a little bit deeper. Following that, I have, what would you do to make sure mentally ill people get prompt diagnosis and treatment rather than lingering in jail cells?
All right, yeah, the homeless people have basically come out as a major issue in the recent summer and last winter. The homeless issue is basically, it's in my flyer, that's what you're trying to do. Part of that is the mentally ill portion of the homeless people, as well as the mentally ill issue or the disability that exists in a lot of the communities around Washington State. To say that the state hospitals are the right place for these people is not the correct answer, because it's a form of incarceration, and they're not properly funded, and more importantly, they're not properly funded because they're not properly staffed, professionals. So it is a major issue, and we need to address it, and I would definitely, I'm wholeheartedly in getting forward to address that issue.
Okay, April, please.
I agree with Jack Carroll on this. On the hospitals, being put in a hospital is a form of incarceration. We should work the same as we work with those who commit crimes. We try to reform them and help them out, and so they don't have to live their life in a prison. And I don't believe just because someone has a mental illness that they should be spending their life behind walls. And I think that we should work more on a system to help them find a way to live out of those walls, not in the walls. That's.
Thank you. Sherry?
Thank you. Well, with the mentally ill, we have now been found in contempt again. The Supreme Court found us last week in contempt because we are still what they call boarding the mentally ill in hospitals and in our jails. And so the court has said for every 7 days or every day in a week, you will pay $500 a day if you haven't moved somebody into a state hospital or a community setting. If you go 2 weeks, it's going to be $1,000 a day. The problem is that we have bigger counties around us, Pierce and King, and they have taken most of our beds, even though they're supposed to pay us for them. And the other problem is that the feds only allow 16 beds to be built for the mentally ill. And I guess Joe knows that. And so well, I'll finish my thought. But it is a big problem, and we have to solve it. and Western State is probably going to be part of the solution.
All right, no worries. And Loretta?
Well, I'll answer the question as I interpreted it. It sounded like we're talking about a situation where somebody is picked up or arrested and they also have mental health issues. So the idea of getting them a prompt assessment, I think it would be good instead of relying maybe on, we need to have a sort of a people on retainer, mental health care professionals that we could bring them in and have them on retainer to do prompt assessments of people that might be in the county jail. But then the problem is, even if you assess them and they have mental health issues, you usually can't take care of those very quickly. So again, then we do need to have a place where they can go. You still have this issue though, that people have mental health care issues, and if they haven't committed a crime, they have that right to be out on the street, and it's a very complicated situation. But the first thing, I think we need to have people on hand to do prompt assessments.
All right, thank you.
She's first on the list.
See, when we have 4 folks here, I get confused real easy. So, but that's all right. And I just, sake of transparency, folks, I also run Pick Up Mental Health Services, but I don't write the questions. You all write the questions. I just want to be really clear about that. So, as much as I would like to, these folks, when they get elected, will hear from me later. So, with that being said, April, your question for the next round is, what do you favor doing as a legislature regarding the rights of transgender people?
Was that question be more specific?
What do you favor, what do you favor doing as a legislature regarding the rights of transgender people?
It's simple, a transgender person has a right just like anyone else. That's why we have to be more specific. Their rights are,
If that's your answer, I'll let you interpret the question, if you believe that's the
If there's a specific issue that needs to be addressed, my answer would be simple. They are to be treated as anyone else on anything.
Thank you. Sherry?
Thank you. Thank you. Well, the rights of transgender people are the same rights that you and I have, because they're all part of our community of man. And if somebody has been trapped inside a shell that they don't feel comfortable in, and they are changing their gender, then they should be able to go to the bathroom, any place that accommodates what they envision themselves to be, not necessarily what the birth certificate says. We as a population don't discriminate, and that was very clear when 1515, the initiative, did not make it to the ballot, because the people in Washington State are much smarter than the average man.
Thank you. Loretta?
I think when there's an issue of a particular right of a particular group, we have to also keep in mind that we all have the same rights. And this is obviously about the bathroom issue. You can say that these people, that transgenders should have the right to use the bathroom that they feel most comfortable in. I also feel I have the same right as a woman, that I should be able to go into a locker room, into a shower room, and feel safe. And I think we have to be very careful about when we're trying to do something in the name of rights for one particular group, that we just ignore and forget about the rights of other people. And I think if someone feels like they're a woman, then they should be able to relate with the fact that how I feel as a woman. And I think that there just has to be, this was not a transparent process, and there was not due process.
And I think we need to protect everybody's rights.
Thank you. Yeah.
Simple answer is nothing. 0.5% of a diverse group does not constitute the majority. Pushing on to businesses an expense that's necessary. If the federal government wants to push it down to government buildings and public buildings, they have that right to do that. For the state to enforce that, they have that obligation to. But push that obligation onto businesses like Snap Fitness, YMCA, YWCA, all these other organizations which are fantastic for their abilities to generate business and provide a service. I agree with Loretta in that aspect. It would be very uncomfortable for a lot of people to be in a shower room or in a bathroom with a transgender person. So pushing more policies down from the media would not be the right idea. Enforcing the federal ones is a requirement.
Thank you. All right, so now moving back to Sherry for the first question. So we dealt with some human issues and human services issues. Let's move on to some concrete issues, shall we? This one specifically concerning roads. Cities and local jurisdictions are financially struggling to repair roads. What is your input on helping repair roads?
Repair or build?
Well, this says repair.
Okay.
So they're
Well, that, of course, repairing the roads is a county city issue. We have a lot of roads that need to be fixed, and we don't have the monies to do it. Mainly because our gas tax, it has never been indexed. And what has happened, you have Priuses and those hybrids who go a long, long way without having to fill up the tank. So what we need is a better system of taxation. And I think one of the best is the smart roads, where people who use the roads will be charged a toll rather than those who sit at home